Chapter: The Vault of Atlantis. The corridors of the Atlantean ruins stretched on, glowing faintly with the residual energy of metromite veins embedded in the ancient walls. Miles followed Helena closely, his boots splashing softly through the shallow water that covered the floor. Helena walked ahead, her bow resting in her hand, her steps confident and deliberate. "Where are we going, Helena?" Miles asked, his voice breaking the quiet. "You'll see," she replied without looking back, her tone calm but with a hint of anticipation. "I'm taking you to the Defense Feature Tech Repository. It's where the Atlanteans stored their most advanced systems. Technology designed not just to protect the city, but to preserve its knowledge and legacy." Miles raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "A defense repository? Why didn't you show me this before?" Helena stopped in front of a massive set of doors, their surfaces etched with intricate glyphs and swirling patterns that glowed faintly. She turned to him, her expression serious. "Because it's dangerous. The repository holds systems that were never meant to be activated unless Atlantis was under siege. But if you're going to understand why this city was so special and why it had to remain hidden, you need to see it." She placed her hand on the central glyph and the door pulsed with light. A deep hum filled the air as the glyphs glowed brighter, scanning her palm. With a loud groan, the doors began to slide open, revealing a vast chamber bathed in an ethereal blue light. Miles stepped inside, his breath catching as he took in the sight before him. The repository was enormous, with towering columns of glowing crystals and holographic displays projecting Atlantean schematics into the air. Massive orbs floated in the center of the room, each one pulsing with energy, their surfaces displaying moving glyphs and diagrams. "What is this place?" Miles whispered, his voice filled with awe. Helena gestured to the floating orbs. "These are the city's defense cores. Each one controls a different aspect of Atlantis' security. Barriers, environmental stabilization, weapon systems, and energy distribution. The Atlanteans believed in protecting their city not through brute force, but through precision and balance. These systems were designed to adapt to threats without destroying everything in the process." Miles stepped closer to one of the orbs, its surface reflecting a holographic map of Atlantis. "This is incredible!" he said, running his fingers through the projection. "These defense systems, they're centuries ahead of anything we've ever seen." Helena nodded. "They weren't just meant to protect the city from external threats. They were designed to safeguard the knowledge and energy systems that powered Atlantis. If the core crystal, what you call the metromite, was ever at risk, the defenses would activate automatically to neutralize the threat." Helena tapped a glyph on the wall and the room shifted. The floating orbs projected a holographic display into the center of the chamber. It showed an image of Atlantis in its prime, towering spires, glowing streets, and vibrant waterways. The projections zoomed in on a battle long past where Atlantean defenses activated to repel an invading force. Miles watched as the holograms displayed shimmering energy shields forming around the city, redirecting enemy projectiles into the ocean. Drones shaped like shimmering orbs emerged from the ground, neutralizing threats with precision strikes that left the environment untouched. "These defenses," Helena said, "were the result of centuries of innovation. The Atlanteans valued preservation, of life, of knowledge, of the world around them. Even in war, they refused to destroy needlessly." Miles crossed his arms, his expression thoughtful. "And yet, the city fell." Helena's gaze softened. "Atlantis wasn't destroyed by its enemies. It was undone by forces we couldn't control. Nature, destiny, time. The defenses could only do so much." Helena led Miles to a smaller console on the far side of the room. She placed her hand on the glyphs and the display shifted to show a smaller, more focused repository. Inside were weapons, bows like Helena's, intricate devices, and shimmering shields. "This was my father's work," Helena said quietly, her voice tinged with emotion. "He helped design these weapons to be used only as a last resort. He believed that even the most advanced technology should serve life, not take it." Miles glanced at her, his voice soft. "He must have been an incredible man." Helena smiled faintly. "He was. And he always believed that our greatest strength wasn't in our technology, it was in how we used it. That's what made Atlantis different." Miles took a step back, his eyes scanning the vast chamber. Helena, he said, his voice filled with admiration. This repository, this city, it's everything we've been searching for, but it also feels like a warning. If we're not careful, the same mistakes that destroyed Atlantis could destroy us. Helena nodded. That's why it had to remain hidden. The world isn't ready for this kind of power, Miles. Not yet. He glanced at her, his expression thoughtful. But maybe, with people like you, we can change that. Helena met his gaze, her voice steady. Only if we remember what this power is meant for. Atlantis wasn't perfect, but it tried to leave behind something better. That's what we have to protect. Helena placed her hand back on the central glyph, and the massive doors began to slide shut, sealing the repository once more. Miles stood beside her, his mind racing with everything he'd seen. As they walked back through the corridors, the faint hum of the metromite veins echoed around them. Miles adjusted the pendant around his neck, the glow reflecting his thoughts. "Thank you for showing me this," he said. "I understand now why this place meant so much to you." Helena glanced at him, a small smile playing on her lips. "It's not just about the city, Miles. It's about what we do with what we've learned. That's what matters." The two walked on in silence, their footsteps fading into the distance as the legacy of Atlantis settled into their hearts.